Hey everybody, Clay Archer, CEO DBC Technology. Welcome to the Drill Down podcast. Today we're going to dive into AI and how you would use it in a dental practice from the perspective of a managed service provider. I am the CEO of DPC Technology. We're a medium-sized MSP in the Southeast United States. We have offices in Jacksonville, Orlando, Atlanta, and Columbia, South Carolina. We cover about 450 dental practices, and I'm joined by three of my really good friends here who also are DIA members and have MSPs that are strictly dental specific. So, Dan, give us a quick little intro.
Hey, thanks, Greg. I'm Dan Pastena with Nova Computer Solutions. We've been around just over 26 years. Have a little over 100 partners here in the Mid-Atlantic region, and we focus on oral healthcare vertical. We love our dentists.
Tom.
Yeah, thanks, Clay, and thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Tom Gimbel. I'm the head of operations at Sunset Technologies. We've been around for right around 20 years. I've been with the organization for about 15. We're a nationwide MSP that focuses on dental or in the dental vertical, and we support just shy of 2,000 locations across the country.
Awesome. And our host, last but not least, the wonderful Nate Smith.
Hi, everyone. I'm probably one of the biggest ultra nerds here. I'm the CTO of DTC Inc. We have around 500 clients, probably right around the same size as Clay, but in the Mid Atlantic, right up near Dan. We're a dental MSP that's been in the business for about 22, 23 years, give or take a little bit. I forget, to be honest. It's been a long time. And I love tech, and I'm ready to dive into this whole AI thing and talk about it because it is a hot topic in my head all the time. It keeps me up at night when I come across some strange posts like the security guys. We all know that out there, right? They're the ones that are like putting up roadblocks, and everyone and Clay over here I know is like, no, move forward, like drive forward AI, right? Um, I'm more of the drive forward AI guy because, well, I'm a CTO. That should be unbounded right there, pretty well defined. But moving forward here, I'm going to go ahead and get into some questions. So let's rewind a little bit. I'm going to ask everyone here, when did AI first hit your radar as something real? Let's go over that first. And Clay, I'll start with you because I know you're passionate about it.
Yeah, so I was actually little behind the scenes. Nate told me he was going to ask me this question, and I went up and I looked on my YouTube channel and I said, "When was the first time I covered it?" The first time I did a video on it was December of 22, and I talked about Jasper. Jasper was a large language model that would write like blog posts for you. It was really good. It was the first time I saw AI write something that was more eloquent than I could write it, and I used Jasper for some time. There was another thing I covered, Excel Formula Bot, which was an AI that worked inside of Excel. I'm a little bit of a finance nerd. I've got a bunch of Excel spreadsheets that I run, and that was the first time I saw something that I was like, holy moly, I don't have to go to YouTube and research this obscure function anymore. I can just say what I want it to do and it will do it. And so, it was fall of 2022, which, is almost 4 years, 3.5 years ago now. But so much has changed in that time frame.
Yep. Just in response to that, like, with me, it was right around the 2022 period is when I started using it, mainly for writing scripts. And I thought that was like like eating bread for the first time ever in like the world. Like it's like so satisfying to watch it just produce the code and it accomplish the goals and tasks you want. Um, Nowadays it's not even comparable, like for what it can do, in my opinion. So
100%.
moving into that, Dan, do you have when did you end up going in right into AI or realize like, oh shit, this thing is actually not just a fad like cryptocurrency can be up and down. Like this thing is going to take over or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It hasn't been certainly as long as both of you, but it was about a year ago, and uh, I'll I'll say some of the conversations that Nate that you and I had in Savannah last October about how you have AI integrated into just your daily tasks. That was my eye-opening moment of holy cow, it could do a whole lot more than what I ever really kind of thought through. So ever since then, we've been working towards our AI models. But I'm going to give credit, completely to you, Nate, from kind of opening my eyes and bringing me out of the cave from that standpoint.
Awesome. I appreciate that. To be honest, Clay is the one inspiring me now with some of the crap he's doing with it. And we'll get into that then, everyone. Just like this is going to get interesting. So, Tom, you're the only one I
Yeah.
don't really know about too much about because we
Yeah.
haven't talked a bit or like even about this subject. I'm really interested in your take on it. Like, when did it become real for you?
Yeah,
And what do
really.
you do?
My first exposure was right around 3 years ago. ChatGPT wasn't quite mainstream. It was in its early stages. I believe I came across it through Reddit initially. I spend probably way too much time every day in Reddit, scouring the different subreddits for technology and things of that nature. But really came across OpenAI and Playground at the time. And it was a Saturday morning. I at that point I have two daughters, brought them to the McDonald's play place while they were playing around on the playground. I had my laptop in front of me and was learning, what is this thing and what does it have to offer? And I instantly went to, from an operational perspective, how could our team leverage this? And I threw it some questions specifically in the dental world around how to troubleshoot a intraoral camera that's not working. Gave it a model, gave it a scenario, and seconds later it spit out some troubleshooting steps. That was a early moment, or early wow moment to me of wow, this is something that we could potentially leverage to streamline, how we're troubleshooting, get information to our team in a quicker fashion and provide a quicker and better outcome for our clients.
Exactly. I mean, it's so amazing. I think when we all had that first moment of I think really accomplishing something or something making a lot of sense to us that another human didn't exactly give us. Um, like my first experience with AI was ChatGPT, more or less. I mean, Clay, Dan, was it all like ChatGPT at the very beginning for you all, or is it a different model?
I
Um,
was before ChatGPT. I was doing like these individual uh, uh, products. Before
yeah,
ChatGPT, before LLMs, there were these individual products.
almost like the cutting edge cameras, security cameras nowadays, and like the AI in them. I mean, I have some Antiquity cameras here at home. I'm sitting on the outside, and I'll tell you, for how much it can just detect, like
Yeah.
like that being a very specific solution, it's great.
Yeah.
But when the larger language models like ChatGPT came out, that was like, what the heck? Like
Yeah.
it is a game changer, in my opinion. So leaning into our next topic here, um, did you all so Clay, did you lean in immediately, or were you more skeptical at first?
I'm a nerd, so I'm a home labber. I'm always doing stuff. I was running LLMs locally at home, just playing with stuff. Um, Honestly, making it work in the business was the hard part because the hallucinations. It was probably 12 months ago where you started to really start trusting things. And then honestly, it's in the last 60 days that like there are no hallucinations and it's 100% accurate. You still have to guide it, but you're not dealing with the hallucination. So, from a personal perspective, I've been playing with it nonstop over the those 2 or 3 years. But to the point where I started to develop stuff and we started making it a corporate strategy, that didn't start until maybe the beginning of this year, where we're really going like this is real. Now, obviously, we were still using products, and we'll talk about it. And through this podcast series, we'll talk about third party products that we both used in our MSP and in the dental practices. But as far as like it getting to a point where, man, this is real, and you need to be using it in your business. It's been this year, and Claude specifically.
If I could like reframe that a little bit, it's almost like you're moving on from just the productize or what I like to call them wrappers, more or less. They're really specific into more pipelining it for your specific problems. Correct. To
Ye-
solve them. That's what you're doing
Yeah,
now.
yeah, and the cool thing about Claude is they have these terms, and that helps you kind of get your game plan, your strategy, your 50,000-foot view together, and it gives you some languages. So, what they call output is an artifact. So if you make a widget that you can use, like if you make a web page, that web page is an artifact. And we started to do stuff with artifacts, meaning making programs, making things that do things for us. But we also, the agentic side of it, where you have stuff that's kind of a black box, but it's doing something for you. So automatically doing this or automatically doing that. Those things start to really you're able to stack those upon each other and really start doing things that are replacing humans. They are doing things, they are making business outcomes happen without
Yeah.
human intervention.
Yeah. We'll get into more of the human part of it too here shortly. That's going to be an intense topic to talk about, I'm pretty sure, for many of us and anyone listening about it. But it's a real thing, right? And
Yeah.
we're going to discuss it. Dan, you mentioned that I'm pretty sure you weren't skeptical. You were just like, because you mentioned being in a cave about it until I really came to you and we had like a pretty good one-on-one discussion about it down at Savannah in 25.
Right.
So is that true? Is it more or less just like it didn't hit you until then, or can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, I'll be honest. I think probably like a lot of our listeners, you just don't know where to start. There's so much coming at you. Whether it's on a web page and giving you a summary, to my email gives me an AI summary, to now it doesn't really matter what you're doing. You can find an AI summary somewhere on whatever you're looking at. It's a lot. And so having the ability to get some clarity on how someone's using it in the real world just for everyday tasks was okay. Now if I could start to understand maybe everyday tasks, now we can look at it from a marketing campaign. That first little baby step into bringing it into the business, which I imagine we're going to share some of those baby steps for our listeners today on where they should be starting if they haven't yet, because I think that's really it was so powerful for me.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point there. If for many people ever came to me and asked me about advice for it, the best thing I can give them is at least just start using it, right? Like you can't really go wrong with which one you pick or the tool around it. I think the most people need to understand is just get started with it. Don't hide, right? Like doing something is better than it's overwhelming, definitely is. But if you fall down that rabbit hole and you can't make a decision, that's probably the worst thing you can do.
Nate, I would
And
add to that, and I don't want
go
to
ahead.
be doom and gloomy here, but you need to start. You have to start.
Yeah.
This isn't an option. This isn't if you're in the MSP space right now and you are not taking a step forward, you are behind. The good news is, it used to take people months and months and months to catch up. Like if Dan, came out with a product and he was leading the industry in it, it might take the three of us 6 months to catch up to Dan,
Yep.
with a similar product. The good news, if you've fallen behind, is everybody can catch up immediately. Like you can catch up and every time is compressed. So, but to your point, everybody should be dipping their toes in the water, because if you're not right now, you from a business perspective, you were falling behind and you were falling behind rapidly.
Would you compare it to almost like if you remember the internet boom? If you didn't have a website or you don't have a website nowadays, it's like, whoa, man! Like, how are you even
That's
in
right.
business? Like,
That's right.
that's
It's
how
probably
I
still
feel
you
about
think
it.
now
It's
all
like,
three of them.
yeah. So, Tom, how about you? Like, were you skeptical at first in that boom moment where it's like,
Yeah. I think my first response was just sheer excitement, right? This tool that just it has such a high ceiling, and you start going down the path of what can this do for me? And it's an unlimited thing, right? It can do so many different things. So my mind went there, and you know, also wanting to make sure we embraced it in a controlled fashion,
Yeah.
not understanding completely, especially early on, what are the security implications, what happens to this data when I send it up to the at that point OpenAI model, and getting those outputs, making sure again that that's safe, but also wanting to be careful with distractions within the organization. Last thing I want to do is here's this tool, and then all of a sudden, everyone's focused around that, and that can have, potentially negative side effects. So making sure that again we have that control. Yeah, of course, having those discussions internally with the right people to really understand the security end of it, understand the business case and how we can best leverage that internally.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on one subject here before, and we'll move more into that in detail under or some of our later discussions because there's a sensitive subjects. Like there's a few things I can just think of off the top of my head. If anyone is researching AI and heard the term guardrails, that's a pretty popular term being used with all this because the models are black boxes, they're unpredictable to a point, and they will do what they want just like humans. Um, Here at DTC, we decided to treat the agents like a human being with its own identity because it acts like one, right? And here's another sensitive topic. We all know about the adult ones that are out there, right? And imagine a turmoil point internally with your HR department or your team. If someone were to go to one of those adult ones, take an image of a coworker, generate it, and that gets out in the world. That's scary, right? That's scary as hell. And
It
it
is.
is something I think about because one of my coworkers came up to me because that happened to them personally in their family
Eh,
with their kid. That's that's sensitive, right? And that's stuff we're going to have to deal with. And I think our next step is just becoming better human beings at the same time to keep. That's like one guardrail, right? Just becoming a better human being. Don't do that. But I digress. It's something we all can't completely control, and that's the risk.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that risk
like,
definitely exists, and you look at kids these days; they're growing up in it. My 10-year-old daughter, right? She uses ChatGPT, and that's I've had to have conversation with her, just making sure she understands what the tool is and what things she can and should use it for, and things that she shouldn't. But I also catch her, you know, she's going through homework and trying to get solve a problem, and starts to leverage the tool, and it's like, oh, Olivia, slow down a little bit. It's a good tool to have in your back pocket, but you need to be working through some of this stuff on your own. So there's it'll be interesting to see over the course of time how this shapes the kids, children and teens as they're going through the school system.
100%. It's like it's the reality of what we understand and what we don't.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we've all experienced organizations using AI already before. I just did this morning with Kaseya, and they have their AI chatbot, right? Like most of some of the organizations do. And Kaseya is not alone here, right? I feel like a lot of companies out there are just shoving it all on top, calling out a solution, and it's just touching the surface, right? And when we get into that, it's like, what is the reality of us right now? Like, how are we using it right now? No sales pitch, right? Just how is it really impacting and in flow with your inside your organization right now? I'll actually get started with this one. We're using it for a lot of strategy. That's one because it's a text generation bot, right? Like it's really good at that, especially Claude. I will give the hands off to Anthropic being a really good model. Uh, if anyone hasn't experienced it, I really suggest you do. Seaborn is also the most expensive, at least in my experience. And now we're starting to build tools internally. Our customer portal is completely custom. We built that in 2 weeks, and that's getting released Tuesday of next week. And I think our biggest thing we've done so far with it is centralizing our knowledge and organizing it and making it accessible and allowing the team to also draft their own knowledge and publish it all in real time in about 2 minutes. What used to take 2 to 3 hours to make a really nice document takes 30 seconds. That saves so much time. And when my team needs to look up something like how does DTC IP schema a new office or a new build out? Well, that they can just ask the AI and it literally tells them how to do it and why. That's powerful stuff. And I know Clay, you're doing some more crazy stuff with it right now. And that's why I'm like a little jealous. Like I feel like I'm behind. That's right. Like Clay, can you go into how your organization DPC is actually using it right now in action?
Yeah. So I'm lucky, and this is one of the benefits of the Dental Integrators Association, just in general, is a lot of you guys know my business partner John Moore, who was Advanced Automation in Atlanta, Georgia. John and I met 25 years ago. We've been DIA member friends for the longest time, and we had talked about selling our businesses to each other when we retired, and eventually we said let's just merge. And so John and I merged a couple years ago, and one of the things that is the beautiful kind of synergy that you get, and I know that Tom's got a lot of this kind of same synergies in Sunset, is John's company is called Advanced Automation, and John is a programmer at heart. Although he's been a dental MSP for 30 something years, as I have, um, he has a background as a programmer, and so he's really good. And I think this is step one for anybody that is going down this path at whiteboarding the problem and starting with a wireframe, a mind map of what you're going to do. Because, like Dan said, when you walk up to this, and I'm kind of more the visionary guy. I'm going to try and squirrel, 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 do everything at once. John is the let's map this out and let's do this intelligently as a programmer would, and let's have versions and rollbacks and plans and stuff like that, and security to Tom's point. So we wireframed out what we wanted to do, and John, we have three people that are on this pretty much full time at this point. So like I said before, we've got some agentic stuff and we've got some artifacts, meaning like, so for you, your web page, that's an artifact. So we are currently getting rid of a lot of SaaS. So I know we were talking about SaaS. I think software as a service for MSPs, for the majority of it, for 75% of it, its days are numbered. We have designed our own IT glue. We've designed our own lifecycle insights. We've designed our own not RMM, CRM. Those are all artifacts, and those are all things that you can use. But to your point, Nate, like our IT glue, it is looking at everybody's tickets, and it's looking at everybody's tickets and building its knowledge base in real time. So the problem with IT Glue is only things got documented were things that you went in and documented. Well, it's seeing every ticket and looking at it. And so on the agentic side, we're doing time and ticket review. So that was something a human would do. So yeah, every time somebody goes out and does service, somebody reviews that, make sure they put their notes in correctly. They didn't, they put any payroll wrap or all those things. That those are terms ConnectWise specific terms, but you've got all these terms for whatever CRM tool you're using. It goes back and checks those against what it thinks should be right, and then rates everybody, gives us reports back on who's got the most time and tickets killed and all that stuff. Oh, also Bright Gauge, we've killed Bright Gauge, so we've got an internal Bright Gauge that's looking at all those numbers as well. And then beyond that, the agents are actually working tickets. So we have a person called Amos. There used to be, and John being an automation guy, he had an automated bot named Bill Smith that would go look at backup tickets and stuff and close them before AI. That was in just regular automation that he would use with ConnectWise. But now we have this agent called Amos, and Amos is working tickets. Now, at this point, we have Amos go in, a ticket comes in, it gets put on a board where Amos can see them. It works the ticket and it gives a suggestion to a tech. But Amos can fix those tickets. And so we're kind of in this period where it's kind of like when you're teaching somebody a new skill. First, you have them sit and watch. Then you have them sit and watch you while you do it. Then you have them do it while you sit and watch, and then you have them do it. Well, we are in the phase now where Amos is fixing tickets while we watch them. So it is actually doing the work, but we have a human still looking at them. But as I said, with these latest versions of Claude, he's 100%. And, he will do a ticket that takes somebody 30, 45 minutes in 3 or 4 minutes, and then somebody will review it for a couple minutes and just say, "Click, let's just implement that," and it's done. And so, um, for the MSPs out there, a lot of your level 1 work will be going away in the next 6 months. That's just a guaranteed thing. So if you had somebody that said, "Hey, set a new email account for this new employee, put a icon on their desktop, and make sure that the rules for their email are all set, and the rules for their junk mail, and make sure all add-ons are done for their email." Well, that's a ticket that level 1 tech would get, and they would take somebody's laptop, stage it, and do it. That's all done by Amos now in seconds. And the token cost for that is in the pennies to get that done. So that kind of work. The good news for us, and you mentioned it before about the dental MSPs, most of our tickets still involve a human touching something, because we have sensors and we have x-ray machines, and we have a lot of stuff that still has a physical aspect. So for us, I don't think we're going to ever get rid of level 1 techs, because we still need somebody to drive to that site and say, "Oh gosh, there's just a fray in this digital x-ray sensor. That's why it's not looping back." But the time of doing email deployment project, those days are gone, or they're numbered in everybody's MSP. And if you yeah. So we have some of those agentic things that are actually working tickets and doing things in the background. Time and ticket review, a lot of admin stuff you can get rid of. All of our finance stuff. So like QuickBooks is logged into it. So we do service leadership, so we do SLIs, and so we can get our service leadership numbers in real time out of QuickBooks through an integration to Claude, where it just does it. I do mergers and acquisition work, all that we have automated. So if I have this conversation, when it's done, it goes into AI so that I can close loop myself on, did I follow up with stuff. My email inbox, down to the kind of day-to-day task. My inbox is all done through Claude, so I don't get spam anymore. Everything's put in the appropriate folder. I can ask for a summary of things that I didn't get done last week, all that kind of stuff. And the other cool thing about every artifact that I'm talking about there is we host those in a database. They're just simple databases, but then I can ask those database things. So it's like everything that we design, just like your ConnectWise or your Kaseya or whatever, instead of having to go to an interface and ask, look for, where do I ask Kaseya at every client who's got a contract below $200 that hasn't called in for the last 2 months. I can find that in reports, but now because I've designed it, I just go to the chat in Claude Code and say, "Tell me that in that English," and it will just give it back to me. So, the other thing, and this is a big thing, and it's a first step that I recommend everybody doing, is Anthropic has some really cool certifications online. So everybody in our office, and that's admins, regular employees, the level 1 techs, leadership, all are going through in Anthropic University, and that's anthropic.com/learn. And there's Claude 101, Claude Cowork, Claude Code. You can go back through and learn all those things. But that's what we're doing right now. We're doing a lot, but we do have a lot of resources on it. And we're trying to do it in a pretty organized way. Like you said, Nate, each one of those things takes maybe a week or 2 to build, and then to test, and then roll out. So we're trying to do them in order of importance. We've got a long way to go. We got a lot of stuff that we've built so far, but we are making strides week in and week out doing it.
Yeah, I mean, touching on that, like I think every MSP, especially that dental MSPs, are going to have different problems they're going to want to tackle first, and it still takes time to do them. Even with AI, the timeline got shrunk incredibly, right? But like us, we're focusing on the customer portal because, well, we never really had one, and that's like one of the number one demands from our clients. So
Yeah.
yes, and we're going to do it because we don't want to be limited by someone else's portal.
Yep.
we always want to do something with like the SaaS, that the SaaS you're going to have to request a feature with and wait years for, no longer, right? Like that's where the not just MSPs, but the control and the speed is given back to the consumer,
Yep.
more or less, right? And it's incredible.
Well, you know,
Yeah,
and I don't.
you're doing a lot, and you're lucky you got John. I'm serious. Like,
Yeah,
he's a
that's where I
great
was
guy.
going to go with that. I was going to go with that. You know, you're talking to three of us are larger MSPs, and we have those resources. I think you know phase one of this for a lot of people is going to be going to something like Thread. You know, and we did a demo with Thread, and I think everybody, whether you're going to build it out yourself or not, should explore those because ultimately these artifacts may save you $300 or $400 a month here or $2,000 to $3,000 a month there, but that's not the real gist of it. I mean, that's great to have those savings and whatnot, but it's really to have the tool. So you know, and not everybody on this call is going to be, you know, have a 40-person MSP where they can put 2 or 3 people on stuff. And I do think in the short term, in this middle phase, there are some SaaS tools like Thread that are, you know, worth everybody taking a look at. Not only because they're a good tool, but if you are going to, you know, design your own agentic or artifacts, they give you a great guideline of what you do like and what you don't like. It's like having a CRM or you know, it's like having ConnectWise. Well, if you don't like ConnectWise or you don't like LabTech, having been on LabTech is great to let you know what you do like and don't like if you go to another SaaS provider or if you design it yourself.
Yeah, to me, it's like as soon as like, you can't go wrong with using any of the tools, right? Just start using it, right? Everyone needs to. And at least in my opinion, I think Clay, you agree with
That's
that. I
right.
think everyone agrees with that statement there. It's like you got to start.
And
And
everybody in your business, you know, because
yeah,
you never know. You're the person in procurement probably has some great ideas about procurement, and you're not thinking about it, right? And they think about it all day, every day, and they go, well, hey, if I link my Amazon and my D&H account and my, you know, insert Pax8 or whoever, ShareWeb or whatever, if I integrate all that information or at least throw their emails into a chat, I might be able to build something that saves me hours a day.
exactly. So I want to move in. I'm going to move into Dan. Dan, yeah, what are you actually using it with? Having the smallest number of clients here compared to to everyone in this podcast right now. Um, how are you using it? Um, are you actually trying to build your own stuff, or are you using it for like strategy right now, or did you actually using a tool that's providing the resources for you?
Well, we've downloaded and started to use Claude, and we're just in that early stages. But we've taken on quite a bit of time and identified the areas that we think we can make improvements, you know, from a marketing standpoint, sales standpoint, and then onboarding. That's, you know, certainly an area that we want to do. And just like we were talking about, making sure ads moves changes, those types of things. And so we've have that all kind of storyboarded out, and now we're starting that implementation. I just learned the other day about the all the online classes, and I think it's a great idea, Clay, to have the entire team go through that. Um, I think that's certainly one of the takeaways I want to take away from this. That we just don't have, you know, our techs and operations, but everybody should be in this.
I agree with that. I was only going to have some engineers do it because so I could at least be that partner that said we had the certification to do it. But that was a great point, Clay. I don't see any reason why all of the team
Everybody,
should not.
Yep.
Like I don't know why I didn't think that wide.
because
You know what I mean?
you have the institutional knowledge that you know is in everybody in your business, and that's what the AI doesn't have right now. And you know, I think we'll get into, you know, replacing, you know, humans or whatnot, but I think the reality of the world is if we have smart humans that are running the AI, at least in the next, you know, 3-4 year time frame, that's where what we need to be looking at.
No, I agree. And Tom, how are you using? I'm curious, being the largest MSP
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
what do
we
you
use
guys
it
do?
a few different ways. Before jumping into sort of how we're using it, just sort of a, I guess, philosophical piece. Like, we're going to be able to leverage AI more and more to get more work done. But I think, um, what's very important in the dental vertical is the human touch. And so that's what we're also very careful with is we want to get work done. We want to be effective. We want the quality to either, stay at a high level or increase. But we also want to look at it's going to change how our internal team is interacting with our clients. And that's where we're looking to see additional gains of communication increases, working with clients in different ways while the tools, help us in the background to get the work done in a quicker fashion. So that's been a really an early, I guess, goal of ours as we've looked at embracing AI. We played with ChatGPT, we played with Claude, we played with several different tools. Don't judge me too early. We've started using Microsoft Copilot more and more over these last few months, and we did try it out a while back. I will say it's gotten a lot better. Microsoft's done a nice job of improving the tool. The benefits that we see with it is just the ability to scour all the different Microsoft tools, from Word to Excel, Outlook, SharePoint, being able to find documents. I don't know if you guys struggle with this at times where we've embraced storing documents in OneDrive in the cloud. But what I've personally struggled with is finding the documents. When did this individual share it with me? How do I track it down? But I've been able to use, Copilot to really stay on top of, what's important, find the documents that I'm actively collaborating with or need to look back from historical documents, things of that nature. So that's been a really nice thing to see with Microsoft really pushing that forward. And then, we are a Kaseya shop, so we leverage, a couple of the tools there being Autotask for PSA and Datto RMM. Kaseya's done I would say, an okay job of implementing AI. That might even be a stretch. There's definitely a lot to be desired there. Early on they added in into the ticketing system the ability to rewrite wording, which we found very helpful early on because we all deal with run across those scenarios where text may add language into tickets that are a little too techy. So it's helped us to really reword that to make that more consumable and easier to read for our end users. And then we do have an internal team that's focused on, a few different things, but one of which is automations, AI, and so on. And really have been focusing over the years on scripting. And that's, when we get alerts, when we get tickets, how can we build scripts to automate, get the work done, whether it's proactive work or reactive work. And that's really, again, where we've leveraged AI to really help to build those scripts and have processes in place of, hey, if you're doing something that's repeat or something that's reoccurring, let's not just do the same thing over again. Let's take a step back. Let's get it to the right individuals, escalate it, and see if there's something more here. See if there's a way that we can automate this and prevent it from occurring again in the future. So that's been a big piece for us. And then over these last several months, we've also started to go down this path of, I guess, data warehousing, if you will. We're gathering the data from the platforms that we use, getting that into a data warehouse. And then, our end goal there is to leverage AI to do some different things to pull data for us, get good reporting, understand, the work that we're doing day in and day out a little bit further, but also help with, providing, um, responses or recommendations for, how we could better, complete the work or, approach our day to day a little bit differently. So that's relatively new into that, but we're expecting a really positive, outcome over these, coming days, weeks, and months as we get more and more into it.
Yeah, so I said each of us are touching on a different surface level. Almost sounds like. Uh, I feel like DTC is right in the middle, like where we're not using. We have some cool tools that we built, right, that utilize the technology to make our lives easier and more efficient. However, Clay is one step ahead. He's like that. Like if you had to measure it one, two, three, right? We're on number two. Clay's at three, where my next step is what I want to do is what Clay's doing, which is I want some stuff happening in the background automatically, right? Like I want that IT glue like idea where the agents organically created over time from your just like a ticket knowledge base as one source, right? Imagine what you can do with your hooking that up to your RMM too. Like,
Yeah.
you just need to run that like every 24 hours and watch the data just get made,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's that's the kind of stuff we're getting into eventually, right? I told Steve, and for everyone else out there, Steve's the CEO of DTC, my boss, and I want T1 tickets being worked by agents by the end of this year.
So
That's
that's
my
gonna
goal.
happen. That's gonna happen.
Like
That's
that's
gonna
my
happen
goal.
for every one of us. That's gonna happen for
Yes.
every one of us. You're the market's gonna drive that. The market's gonna
Yeah.
drive that.
Yeah. No,
So
the really cool thing with that too is it's only going to get better over
That's
time
right. That's
as it
right.
gets more information, resolves more tickets, knowledge base grows. Only going to get smarter and more effective.
The thing about it is the market's going to start driving it, right? Like, so if you can do, if I can solve a level 1 ticket for 25 cents and Dan can solve a level 1 ticket for $34, well, you can see there's an economic gulf there, and the market's gonna do what the market's gonna do, right? So it's you could bury your head in the sand, like you said, Nate, about the internet. The internet's here, right? Like if you said in 1994, I'm never going to, like the dental practices. I was a young kid back in the day, and I would go in an office and I would tell the front desk woman would ultimately be my good friend, I'm going to take your typewriter from you. And she would look at me like, no, we're never going to do that. We're not getting on the line because we're going to have HIPAA, and we don't want to have HIPAA. And like, that typewriter is going. Gail, I'm taking your typewriter from you. And every typewriter is gone. So that's where we are now. Like, right, the typewriter is going away, and either you're going to adopt it, or you're not going to be in business. The reality though is like I said before though, Nate or Tom or Dan, is your ability to catch up is infinitely shorter. So like, I talk about being 6 months ahead of people. Well, we're not 6 months ahead of, even if we are, you know, working with Anthropic inside of our practice today, doing the most incredible things. Well, next week next week ChatGPT is going to come out with something. Next week out of that, Copilot's going to come out with something. And so, the lead is not necessarily what you're after. You're just making sure that you're staying up with the game, because there is going to be economic pressure, meaning price per seat, price per endpoint, price per whatever, downward, because people are going to be able to do it. And you've got these big MSPs that are going to be driving that as an advantage. It's just the way the world works.
Yeah, and you made the comparison earlier, I think, Nate, around the .com boom, and that's a very good comparison. And,
Mhm.
and I'm sure you guys are in a similar boat where there's vendors calling, every other day, if not every day, trying to sell their tools, and it's most of them are all AI based. There's
Yeah.
stuff coming out
The
every day
reality,
that's targeting managed service providers.
the reality of it too, on your SaaS, you're always going to need your Huntress or your security stuff. You're going to continue to pay for that. Probably in the short term, we're going to keep playing for our CRM. Like your Kaseya or your Autotask or your
Yeah,
ConnectWise. But those days are numbered too. And all you really need for an RMM is the agent, because honestly, our Claude is doing scripting in lab tech is 1995 compared to just type in what you want it to do and it's going to go do it. So basically, you're going to need an agent of some sort of on somebody's desktop, but you could do that with the cheapest one. If Halo's cheaper than Kaseya or LabTech, whatever the cheapest one is, you're just going to have it on the desktop, and it's going to do the job of letting the agent in to do their work.
yeah. And the cool
I
thing
agree
too
with
to
that.
note is you don't need to have a 4-year programming degree to be able to build scripts.
No,
And that's
no.
that's been a beautiful thing, just being able to ask it general layman's questions and be able to output scripts and debug scripts and so on.
And the cool thing about it is it knows everything about Dentrix and Open Dental and Eaglesoft, and you name the thing there, it already has all the knowledge about that inside the program itself. So, there may be some stuff in your knowledge base that is specific to your clients, but it's need to know. I used to say at some point, the AI bot is just going to call Dentrix's AI bot, and they're going to have a conversation, but it doesn't even need to call Dentrix anymore. It knows what's going on there, and it,
Mhm.
it does it. I mean, there's still going to be a place for a human in that interaction somewhere, because there are going to be certain things that it can't solve, and a human's going to be need to interact. But um, we are to that point where it can do that. And I think really the latest version of Claude 4.7 was the inflection point where you can really trust it.
Yeah, that's actually a good segue, Clay, because one of the things that really made me nervous, it caught me off guard because I'm thinking about this go, 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 go. How do I build tools? How do I solve these very specific problems that I can't just go to a vendor and buy it from, no matter how much I beg or how much money I give them, right? They have their own timeline and their own agenda. Is I saw a CISO, I forget from what company, doesn't really matter, but he posted about, it's basically stating, if you don't think your clients are going to be opening up tickets with AI agents and thinking about what that looks like, you're behind. Everyone keeps using that "you're behind" term, right? So the first thing I thought of was like, oh wow, that he's right. That's scary when you first think about it. And then you start thinking, well, what if I have my AI answering their tickets, those requests? I cannot still fathom or envision what that world's going to look like. You know what I mean? When a client and service provider, no matter what industry, it can be any industry at this,
Right.
where their AI agents are the ones doing literally all the work at
Yeah.
that point. You know what I mean? I think we're only a year or two away from that. Like
But
for how fast everything's moving.
just think about it like a common problem, insert practice management, a database is having a little issue. Um, it could have an agent that said, "Hey, it seems like we're having an issue here." It could call your agent up and say, "Hey, what do you prescribe here?" It goes through, it does its machinations and says, "You know what? We need to do a rebuild on the database and restart the server." Best time to do that looks like it's 7:30 at night Eastern Standard Time. Talks back to your AI, their AI. Their AI says yes, schedules it, done. Humans don't have to interact. I mean, that's a very common ticket that every one of us fields probably on a daily, weekly basis. There's no need for a human to be involved in that whatsoever, right?
No, and it's like amazing to think about. And so here's the question to everyone: where's the value come from the service provider?
Right. Tom nailed it. Tom nailed it. It's relationships, because people are still people. First of all, there's a gradient on this call. Dan is not as comfortable with it as I am or as you are, Nate. And so dentists are going to be that way as well. They're not going to be as comfortable with it. And there is another whole coin to this that you need to be ahead of, is that if you've done it internally, you can then offer it to your clients, right? The all of us are going to be doing what I'm talking about right now, being the Sherpas for our clients and leading them into it, right? But where Dan is right now is you having conversation with him in Savannah at the DIA meeting made him feel more comfortable. You were a little bit of a Sherpa for him. He moves forward a little bit. But humans are going to be, Dan didn't just go to the computer and start typing things in. A human had a conversation over lunch with him. He knows you, he respects you. You know, that interaction, that's how we sell to our clients. That's why people pay us to do what we're doing. And Tom's right. At the end of the day, and I think the dental vertical gives us a couple of really nice insulations. One, dentistry does everything about 6 months after everybody else does in the world. So when people went to Office 365 in the early 2010s, we were 5 years behind that in dental. And some programs don't even work with Office 365 to this day. But we have that little bit of buffer there. And the other thing that we have is dentists, they want somebody to hold their hands and do stuff. and there's a physicality to our world. So level 1 techs in the future, we may still have the same number of level 1 techs, but they are going to have an agent telling them, go to Dr. Smith's office at 10 o'clock. They're going to be ready for you to walk into the operatory and reset their, intraoral camera, insert whatever it is there. But there's going to be a shift to that. But
Yeah.
I don't see in the next 4 to 5 years that that's going to change much for dental MSPs. The relationship that Tom's talking about is how all four of us on this call built big businesses because we were good with people. We hired people that were good with people, and our clients know, like, and trust us. And I don't think that's going away anytime soon.
I don't either. It's going to be less and less and less about the talent, like technically,
That's right.
and more
More
and
about
more and
people.
more about that human connection.
That's right.
That's like you said, Clay. You put it really well. That's the only reason we're all here right now.
That's right.
It is the human connection, and each of us have different technical abilities and may take different timelines on solving certain problems and other ones faster. But that human connection is why these people are still here and why they're still our clients. And like Dan, like for an example, I didn't know he called all his clients partners, right?
That's right.
I call my clients clients. I just like the term, but it's different, right? Like
Yep.
it's all about that human connection and being real,
Yep. And the
which
culture
is
at
going to
Nova,
make any
which is,
MSP stand out.
yeah, and the
So
culture
as
at
long as you have
Nova,
that.
which is different than the culture at Sunset, which is different to the culture at DPC, and right down the line. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that is where the rubber hits the road is those human relationships.
Yeah, another thing we've been encouraging our team is, it's easy to think of these tools, be able to just say, write me a response or write me an email on this. And I've really encouraged the team of, we don't want to lose our writing
That's right.
abilities. And secondly, we don't want to lose a genuine response, genuine messages, right? So using it for helping with typos, maybe helping with, general formatting, helping if you get writer's block. But it's still very important to maintain your personalization and your personality when it comes to using the writing tool.
I agree 100%, Tom. And the big thing you have to deal with, and we're all guilty of this a little bit, but we all are anti it, I'm assuming. But when you see AI stop, you know, we're all, 6 months ago, you saw a neat post that had some emojis in it, and you were like, "Oh, that's a nice post that person did." Now you see the post with emojis in it, you're like, "ChatGPT wrote it," and you keep moving on. And there's a sensitivity to the humanity of a real interaction, and a desensitization to this um, AI stuff where you don't even pay attention to it. So, you have to find where it works in the middle, where you, like you're saying, you're using it as a tool to guide you. But if I sent an email, 25 emails to Dan saying, "I want to buy your company, I want to buy your company," he's going to go, "That dude's not writing that. That's
Yeah.
just whatever." But if I sit down and break bread with Dan, that may be a different conversation, right? That's a different out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because
Yeah,
I think ChatGPT has had an issue. I don't know if they've solved it yet where a lot of their responses would have M dashes.
That's right.
I think that's still a thing. So
Yeah.
that's instantly I see something,
Yeah.
a note with an M dash. So, okay,
Yeah.
that was generated through AI.
And
Well,
I'm completely guilty of it. I saw a post that we put out today on Facebook, and I was like, "We got to stop. We got to stop doing that. That's not us. That's just something that somebody's just filling space with, and it's not what I want to do."
yeah. And just some advice for everyone listening. If you do want to alter like the output of the AI on like a regular basis, I suggest everyone start researching the system prompt, especially if you're just using it at first for like ChatGPT and Claude. I think Claude calls it something else, but they're all the same thing. It's the context that gets injected before the conversation starts. And I had mine redo mine like probably like at least once a week now to go over my conversations. Like I just copy and paste them from Teams, so I get it to start typing and like me.
Yeah. Learn from you.
And I have and I do it for different audiences. So if it's an internal Teams message, because I don't want to type out a whole memoir, like I don't use M dashes, for example. I use dot 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 all the time. I forget what that's called, but it's it does that now, right?
Yeah.
Or if I'm sending a Teams message, it doesn't make it perfect. It's all lowercase and has some mistakes in there because it's how I type. So
Yeah,
it,
Claude
it's,
calls them
yeah,
skills, and you could load
yeah,
skills, and you could just write out in plain English in the skill, hey, I don't ever want it to, hey, I use this phrase a lot, or I don't ever use this, or I'm from the South, or I'm from the North, or, you can put all those things in there, and um, it's really cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you
it
guys
really,
have
it really
tried
does
this,
have a
but
little,
I been using it for quite a while, and I simply gave it a prompt of, from your perspective, tell me who I am and what
Yeah,
I do,
yeah,
just to see, what type of data it's ingested and
yeah,
how it's learned. And it was scary how spot on its summary
yeah.
was.
It's a good point too. On that is, and you mentioned this a little bit before, Tom, about having the data warehouse. And that's how we're designing all the things that we're designing as far as artifacts or databases that we host. Um, because you may change, like you mentioned, Copilot. We heard ChatGPT a couple times. We heard Claude a couple times. Gemini. If you design everything the way you should be designing everything, and this is about getting back and looking at it from 50,000 foot and being strategic, you should design it in a way that the model doesn't matter. So if you design something, you should make it so that it's self-hosted, it's in its own database, and you can tell Claude, this is the way I want to do it. And if Claude no longer is the leader, you can tell ChatGPT, hey, take a look at this database, and I want you to do it this way. Um, Also, they have all got really good porting prompts now, so that if you leave ChatGPT and you've taught ChatGPT all that about you, you could do a couple prompts to it, and all of them have this feature for the other ones, and you can go into, let's say I was going from ChatGPT to Copilot. You go into Copilot and say, hey, I'm migrating from ChatGPT. I want to maintain as much of my history as possible. Give me a prompt to feed back to ChatGPT, and it will give you that prompt, and then you can just put it into Copilot. I don't know how Copilots work, so I haven't done that, but in Claude, it's got a whole section there where you can bring that old memory in, and it's eerily good at knowing that past stuff.
you know, that actually gets me thinking. Like one of the biggest challenges I've had around it, but Claude really solved the problem already because they always do. Like you said, one week, one model provider comes out with a solution, and it's like, oh fuck it, I'm going to give up on
Yeah,
that project. They already solved the problem, which
right.
was the memory thing. And like that's one thing I think ChatGPT did first before Anthropic actually did. Um, but like Anthropic, like they're both really good. Like at
Yeah,
remembering and knowing what to remember just things. Like for an example, one thing we're going to be building into our customer portal is that personal touch really matters to me when it's interfacing with anyone. Is each user in its own like not in its own database, separated by its own unique identity, right? Will have its own memory, so it it knows what they talked about. Like that personal touch, I think to give it to
yeah,
anyone is going to be huge at building up relationships, even if it is just an AI model. It helps, right? And that being said, I actually have I lost my one question that I thought of, Clay, whenever you were just going on there. If I think of it, I'll ask it. But for now, before we end off here, start rolling out, um, I do want everyone's like detailed, like very specific answer to this, if you can give any. If you haven't started yet with AI, talking to the audience here, what do we do for them? What do they do Monday morning to fix that, or actually get started on it? What's the first thing you would give the audience to do, more or less? Clay, I'll start with you.
I think Dan, and we didn't pregame this or whatever, but I think where Dan is and what Dan's done so far is what people should do on day one. First of all, I would go to that anthropic.com/learn, start taking those courses yourself. I would download Copilot or Claude Code, and I would get a team plan for that and put all your players on the $20 a month team plan. I would also have all your players do the same thing. So everybody in your office do the same thing. I would have a strategic meeting next week with my leadership team and kind of whiteboard the things that we think are low hanging fruit and the things that we think that we would like to start looking at. And the third thing I would do is I would identify the talent that you have inside your organization already. I guarantee you there is a nerd um, in your ranks that goes home at night and is trying to design a game or trying to design whatever that wants to do this, and see if you can. I see that there's going to be a reduction in the amount of labor that people are doing on tickets, but I think in the short term, for sure, there is a ton of time and energy that we need to put into these initiatives and identifying that person and letting that person start spending a majority or a portion of their time just deep in thought and designing things for you.
And I
That's
agree
great
with that
advice.
approach, full heartedly. Just a couple things I would add, if you get stuck, ask the tool, provide the
Yeah,
tool with information on yourself. It could be personal, could be business, load it up with what you're trying to achieve, the business that you're working in, the end users, and get some feedback. And you can use the tool itself to figure out how the tool can help you.
that's a big
Yeah,
point mentioned today. The tool is your best. Just feed it back when something doesn't work. Feed it back to it.
Yep.
we also have Copilot, and that's what the vast majority of the team has used up until Claude. I think we're going to figure out how we can grab Copilot and dump everything into Claude. But my first takeaway Monday, uh, we're absolutely going to have that conversation about getting everybody on, going through the university that they have, and everybody has the idea. It's just a great idea.
Yeah. And then another thing to add too is early on, identifying what tool you're using and find a good note taker. If you're having meetings, they're worth every penny to take notes, to build agendas, for reference points. And that was a huge piece for us too, because there's a ton of tools out there. I know you guys have probably seen that too, between Fireflies, Otter, a ton of these. It started popping up where I'd jump in a meeting and there'd be a new one that would pop up almost, every week. And that was sort of also what drove us to really try and standardize on one and drive towards Copilot, just so we could keep everything in a secure, contained environment, not having these free note takers jumping in left and right.
Yeah. And for the audience, if anyone's looking into Copilot, Microsoft is reaching out to Anthropic to use their models. So you will experience the Claude in the Copilot eventually. Depending on how good the agent loop is they make, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I think we all agree here, Anthropic just has really good models right now, right? Like they're like one of the top dogs when it comes to just the agentic ability of the model itself. So
Yeah.
my advice is start simple, just like everyone else's, and let it emerge. Just go sign up for the $20 a month tool. Doesn't matter which one. Just start talking to it. Talk about it to what goes through your head, like you're journaling out your day, and watch emergence happen. That's really what's cool about it. And that I spent a year in 2025 literally just using it almost like by myself alone, journaling every single day, every few hours about what's happening throughout the day. And it just started turning into this, I don't know what to call it, but like the lessons, the knowledge, everything just emerged from it and then scouted out into application here in 2026. So that's the advice I have. Anyways, we are actually up on our hour because we started 10 minutes early, I believe. And this was episode 1 of the drill down. We're going to try to do these at least monthly. We talked about bi-weekly at one point, but we're still working that out. So we'll get together and figure that out and see what sticks and keep this going. And Clay, Dan, Tom, I really enjoyed this conversation. It was awesome. It got really in depth more than I thought it would, to be honest. So
Good
thank you
stuff.
all. I really appreciate it. So
Thanks for
does
bringing us
anyone else
together,
have any
Nate.
Yeah.
closing
Thank
remarks?
you.
Anyone else have any closing remarks?
I would say, anybody interested in the DIA or joining an association where us like-minded guys get together and gals get together and talk about this kind of stuff and, accelerating dentistry and providing really good support to the dental industry. The DIA is a wonderful resource. I've personally been a member, I don't know now, for 20 years. I've known the guys that are in the DIA for probably 25, 30 years. For some of them, I think it's an invaluable spot. So if you are an MSP out there looking for, a community to hang out with, people like-minded that are seeking cool stuff and answers, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about what it looks like to join the
Very cool. Thank
Appreciate
you,
everyone.
Clay.
Appreciate everyone tuning in and stay tuned for future episodes.
Dan, our president.
I can't follow that. That was perfect.
There you go.
The DIA, perfect. Couldn't do any better.
All right, we're closing out. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great weekend if you're watching this on a Friday.
Thanks, guys.